Hello, and I'm going to try to make this quick. I'm going to do something different. This is a comparison of two beers. Similar Irish stouts, both imported from Ireland. Both very similar, old recipes. Been around for a while. I'll talk about that real quick. And there's a big difference there's some big differences between the two. And I'll tell you what I think of them. Okay, these are both Draught beers, meaning that they have nitrogen widgets in both of them, which the nitrogen widgets, these are both served, they serve Guinness or Murphy's on draft. It's served with about a third nitrogen tank gas mixed in with the carbon, CO2. And what that does is give it a really creamy, super fine, almost like whipped cream, milkshake, whatever kind of foam, which also gives it a very smooth mouthfeel and carries the flavor. So it's pretty good. And some genius figured out, a couple of decades ago, it seems like, how to do that with a can by putting a little plastic, they call it a widget, filled with nitrogen, that when you open it, the beer, it activates the widget, releases the nitrogen into the beer. Comes out pretty good. I bet their kids are still living off that invention, hopefully. All right, so on the right, we have our Guinness Draught. It's Guinness Stout, draft style with the nitrogen. Draft style is a weaker beer. This comes in at 4.2% alcohol. The Guinness Draught Stout. 4.2 is, if you don't know, that's fairly weak beer. I've always said, I used to love drinking Guinness on draft. I remember I used to be able to get it for $1 a pint when I was in college, and it's not a strong beer. It's good beer. It's not strong. It's very good. These are both worldwide beers, but this one more so. This beer cost me today $13.5. Counting deposit and New York State tax, $13.50. I'm not sure of the deposit and tax. I will say this beer cost $12.99. I bought it in Cortland at the Grand Union. $12.99 for 4-pint cans. This beer, Murphy's Stout, cost almost half that, $7.49, which with today's inflation is very, very reasonable. So almost half the price of the Guinness. You have the Murphy's. And I'll talk a bit about the Murphy's. Comes in at just 4% alcohol, even a little bit weaker than this draft. This also has a widget. It's Draught style Murphy's. You can buy Murphy's and Guinness, regular beers, without the Draught. And I've yet to, if I find them, I'll compare those as well. You can hear the widgets in here clanking around. That's how you know. It also says Draught, so you know it's got the nitrogen. Brief history, geography. This is brewed in Dublin at St. James Gate Brewery, Guinness Brewery, since 1756. I drank a lot of Guinness in my years, a lot. And it goes. So, I've done a lot of research on this beer, done a few reviews on different, never reviewed this one, the Draught. And they really haven't changed the recipe a whole lot in this since about 1820 or so. They had a winner and they had enough sense to stick with it. They tweaked it a little bit for different, like export and things and extra stout, but they really haven't changed the recipe much since 1756. Now the Guinness Draught in the cans, that's been around, I don't know, just off memory, about 15, 20 years it's been around. Draught in a can with the widgets. So Dublin, Ireland, 1756, the brewery started, and pretty much started on this, their stouts. 1856, 100 years later. I think this is actually 1757. It says on the can somewhere, but I want to move on. 100 years later, 1856, and the name of the brewery was Ladies Well, as in a woman, Ladies Well, wishing well. Ladies Well Brewery in Cork, Ireland. And geography, Dublin is on the east coast, central part of Ireland, you know, closer to England. Cork is all the way at the very southern tip, pretty much. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but this is off memory. Southern Ireland on the seaside, you have County Cork, City of Cork. This started up 1856, Ladies Well Brewery, but it was Murphy's Stout then. This is a little bit weaker, 4% alcohol, 4.2. What else? This Heineken Brewery out of Holland acquired this Ladies Well Brewery in the 80s, I believe I read. A Dutch brewery, Heineken. You've heard of them, I'm sure. And they didn't change the recipe as far as I know. They changed the name of the brewery to Murphy's and the beer to Murphy's Beer. You could do some research and you could find more history on both these breweries. It's very well documented on the internet. You can see old labels and old marketing things, and these beers have been loved for a long time and researched. So, Ladies Well Brewery, 1857, Cork, Ireland, acquired by Heineken, Dutch Heineken Brewery in the 1980s. Changed it to Murphy's Stout, and I think it's Murphy's Brewery, to tell you the truth. And, all right, 4% alcohol, 4.2% alcohol, fairly weak beers. This one actually was brewed. They wanted this to be a contender, marketed. This has less hops. This is a sweeter beer than this. And they wanted to market this stout in Ireland and elsewhere for people who didn't really like a bitter stout. Guinness Stout is bittersweet, and I like it. It's kind of hard to find this, but it's just really good. You'll see. Because I actually had one of these last night and made a video and didn't like the video. So I know what this tastes like. However, I haven't compared it to this. I haven't had one of these in quite a while. The Draught in the can. So this is a fair comparison. Same temperatures. Even the same Irish Simon Pearce. That's a dirty one. Oh, I gotta clean these. I'm sorry. Simon Pearce beer mugs out of Vermont. But the guy that makes them is Irish. I immigrated here from Ireland, my understanding, the glass maker in Vermont. So, very Irish, and I'm wearing green. And I don't really consider myself Irish, but I do like the beer and the music. And some of the people. Some of them I don't like. I've got some Irish, but I don't really claim it. You'd think I would with the hats and the music and stuff. And I acquired the taste of the music from my mother and my music teacher, who taught me fiddle as a teenager. He got me into the Celtic, and so did my mom. So I got an appreciation for Celtic music early in life. It stayed with me. I like playing it. It's fun to play. I just like it. Don't need to explain it. So let's see which these are about. These aren't strong beers. You really, if you're a beer drinker, quite frankly, you'd have to work pretty hard to get drunk off these beers. Quite frankly. I guess that depends upon your physical condition, your weight and size and age and all that stuff. So there's a little better. I thought I cleaned these better than that. You know, my eyes are getting dim. My hearing is going. I'm getting old. I can blame the Army and the machine guns for my hearing, and the Army says that's what did it. But the eyes, I'm just getting old. That's how it goes. Enjoy. All right, let's get to the beer. Put these aside. What else to be said about these? They're old Irish beers. Very traditional Irish beers. So it should be interesting to see what's what. And being a lover of stouts, and I used to brew stouts quite a bit, and I hope to get back into brewing stouts, I know something about the beer. Typically, unlike an IPA, even though this is considered a bittersweet stout, different flavor profile than this. There's not a lot of hops in this either. I didn't get the IBUs on either of these. I really couldn't find it. So these are just barley, roasted malts, barley malts, a little bit of hops and water, and yeast. Very old yeast strain that they've been using. All right, we'll go with this first, and you can hear the widget. Ooh. So, this should pour very fine, and it is extremely creamy beer, as you can see. Copper, kind of a very light, medium light brown, really. Not at all as dark as the extra stout. Very, very light compared to that. And a very delicious looking beer, I may say. I've had a very busy, fruitful day. Tomorrow I fly to France. So I'm going to have these beers and hit the hay. Look at the head on that, huh? I mean, I don't need to hold it too close to the candle. I keep thinking I do, but I don't. Now I'm using my brand new phone. This is actually kind of a test video for my phone to see if it can replace my Sony ZV-1 that I just bought a year ago. And it served me very well, but I just got this camera yesterday, and let's see how it does. All right, so you can see the color on that. The head on this is very fine. Very, very fine. You could draw on it. You know, some people like to draw a clover. At least when they pour them in tap, they do. People, bartenders, barmaids do fancy things. Now, I always called a woman bartender a barmaid. And in recent years, I've found that I haven't been to a bar in actually quite a while. We don't have one in this town to speak of anymore since COVID. But young women get offended when you call them a barmaid. Well, that's what it always was. A bartender's a man, like a waiter and a waitress. A bartender and a barmaid. Not anymore, not around here. All right, so that's how it looks. As you can see, it's a nice color if you like to look at your beer. Like Tim does. I'm talking about myself in third person. Like I do. All right, I'm kind of excited about my trip, so I'm a little tweaked. Put it in some words. All right, so here goes the Murphy's Stout. 4.2% alcohol, 4% alcohol. Weak beers. $7.49 for 4 pints, $12.99 for 4 pints. Out of the same country. Why? It's a smaller brewery. You'd think they'd be the greedy ones. There we go. Let's get a good view of this. Also quite creamy, as you would expect from the nitrogen. Even lighter colored. I don't know, actually. I don't know. Is it? It's hard to tell. It's nothing but foam. Oh, it might be the glass. It might be the way I poured it. People always argue the correct way to pour a beer like this. I think it came out all right. The Guinness head is actually a little finer than the Murphy's. And that's not to take away from the Murphy's. The head on this Murphy's is actually quite fine, but not as fine as the Guinness. As you can see, perhaps, hopefully, with this camera, 200 megapixel camera. One thing I like about this camera, I can manually set the focus. And when I just manually set it on the screen, it would light up these two glasses like in glowing green when it's right on target. Kind of fun to use that. But there's some drawbacks to this, that my Sony ZV-1 had a screen that I could actually view myself while I'm recording. Not this, but that's just a small drawback. We'll see how the end product looks. All right, so that's the appearance. Which one's darker than the other? Oh, they're pretty close. What do you think? They look the same, honestly. It's hard to say. Does it really matter? Yes, to me it does. The Guinness is a little lighter in color, to my eyes. Barely so. The Guinness has a finer head, barely so, than the Murphy's Draught Stout. All right, smell. Smells of yeast and malt. Smells like bread. I get no hops at all, and I'm not smelling well though, I must say. Smells the same, but I gotta say, my sinuses are a little tweaked from the spring allergies, so I can't really give you a good rendition of that. But I know that what these smell like. Generally, the Guinness Extra Stout that I usually drink smells like molasses, which I like. Molasses and coffee. I can't smell much right now, so you're gonna have to check it out for yourself. So I'll do the taste. First, the Guinness. I love this stuff. This is delicious. Sorry. I'm like some women with chocolates, with Guinness. It's sweet. It's definitely not as bitter as the Guinness Extra Stout that I'm used to, that I can buy locally at a reasonable price. This is water. This is sweet. I get a little bitterness on the back of the tongue. Sweet up front, chocolatey, sweet, then a bitter aftertaste. Still the bittersweet from the Guinness, which I like, and so do a lot of others. Now, I'm going to cleanse my palate with a cracker and some water. I'm trying to be fair with this. Regular crackers. I like Zesta crackers better than any others. You spend $1 more for them, but they're better. My mom always said they were. All right, I think I'm ready to try the Murphy's. The Murphy's Draught Stout. Oh, that's very good. They taste very similar, except this doesn't have the bitter aftertaste that I get on the back of my palate. This is sweet, chocolatey, maybe a hint nutty, a little bit of bittersweet, not very much bitterness. You know, the way that the palate's set up, and you get the bitterness in the back. Not so much as this. No, this is sweeter. Very easy to drink. at 4% alcohol, and with the nitrogen, a very, very smooth beer indeed. Goes down like velvet, whatever that is, but very smooth, light, easy to drink, sweet, a good tasting beer. I would say, I think a lot of people that don't like their stouts would probably like this quite a bit. Maybe even people that don't like beer might like the Murphy's Draught Stout. At a reasonable price too. I mean, Guinness has a global market. They are a worldwide heavy hitter, champion beer on every continent on the earth. These, as far as I know, these aren't. I don't see this beer. I'm in New York, and I see this beer occasionally, and I'll definitely pick it up now. This is good, real good, and very well priced. So why is this more expensive? I'm sorry, I mean, I understand they have to make a profit at the end of the day if you want to stay in business. I understand that. You know, I am a capitalist. But greed, why is this twice as much as this? I mean, I would know as a brewer and from drinking these, pretty much the same ingredients, the same work and energy, just a little bit different recipe, maybe a little different technique. Oh, I'm supposed to do this one next. Oh, these drinks so smooth. I don't know. I don't know. They're both pretty good. Both really good. I still can't understand why this costs 40% more than this, coming from the same little island called Ireland. Same ingredients, you know, same distance to travel to my dining room table. Why does this cost more? I don't know. Just saying, just saying. See, I factor that into my overall review, which probably isn't good, but I will mention the price. You know, set aside part of the review, but different from what I think of the beer. I think it's worth mentioning the price and also the packaging, which is kind of nice. I kind of like the kind of old-fashioned looking Irish, English kind of, I don't know, art, traditional label. Same with this, got a gold harp set on black, you know, an emblem of Ireland. Oh. I don't know which one I like better, honestly. Pretty darn close. They taste almost alike. Lacing, similar, but in my mug, the Murphy's has a little better lacing, from what I can see. Not by much. That's not to take away. The Guinness also has fairly good lacing, but not as good as the Murphy's. Oh my God. These drink incredibly easy. I could see quaffing down quite a few pints of these at a pub if I had the funds. Playing some accordion or emptying the place out, singing some songs. Occurred to me today that I'll give myself credit for singing. I think I get it because my mom always sang. And but she was really good at it. My father never sang. He'd turn the radio on or play a record or something. But I like to sing, but I'm not really great at it. Not like my mom. But I give it a heck anyway. I think, if anything, because I enjoy singing and I'm trying to show people, whoever, have the courage to sing. It's good for your heart and soul to sing, honestly, I think. Which one do I like better? This doesn't have as much flavor, but this drink's very easy. This one doesn't have very much bitterness. It's very easy, very sweet, not extremely sweet. I take that back. It's not. It's kind of watery, honest, but I wouldn't say this is a watery beer. It has flavor, but the flavor isn't overpowering. This drink's very easy, like a glass of water. And it definitely has flavor, but not the bitterness that this does. Actually have more flavor. I think, personally, I prefer this over this, but not by much. I would prefer the taste of this over what I've been drinking, the Guinness Extra Stout. Actually, I like this much better. Unfortunately, I can't get this Murphy's Draught very easily. I run across it now and then. For the price that they charge for this is commendable today with inflation running, as you know. It's commendable that they could still sell 4 pints of this for $7.49. And Guinness, all Guinness brands, because I've been watching, the stouts, the extra stouts, the Draught Stout, price is going up, up, up. 4 pints now costing me, almost $14 with tax and deposit. I mean, what is it? 12.5 times 8 New York tax. That's roughly, let me do my math here, 12.5 times 8. That's going to be 65, 70 cents. And then 20 cents on top of the deposit. So, coming up with about $13.40, somewhere around there, all told, what I paid for this. And at any rate, the same factors into this, but this is quite a bit more. That's a lot of money for 4 pints of beer. That's about what I would expect to pay at a bar. And I haven't been in a bar or pub in so long. I'd probably be shocked at how much things cost now. I go back to brewing it myself. You know what gets me? Local brewers around here. There's local brewers all over where I live here. I'm talking within a 25, 30 mile radius of where I'm sitting. I don't know, there's probably 8 different microbreweries, and some of them do quite well. In Auburn, Prison City Brewery comes to mind. And right up the road from me, 3 miles, is a Wasco Lake Brewery. It's hit and miss. These are brand new brewers, men in their 30s, maybe 40s, that managed to start up a small brewery and keep it running. But their beers, honestly, aren't this good. They're not. I mean, these are world-class beers. And they've been selling for 100, since 1856 and 1757. And this has a global market. So there's something about the beer. They got a winner. But the local breweries, you can buy their beers in 4-pack pints. You know what they charge? Like anywhere between $15 and $20 for 4 pints of local beer. And some of it is decent. Some of it's not so decent. Now and then you get some that is very good. Prison City has a few winners. I've drank some of Wasco Lake Brewers. I thought the man did a very good job on some of his beers. But sometimes they get it wrong. I mean, the thing about brewing, if you're going to brew commercially, it's got to be the same beer every time, so that when I buy this, I know what to expect because I've had it before. And small brewers can't seem to get that down very well. And I understand. It's challenging. It's a science, really. But they're learning, and hopefully they can stay in business long enough to perfect their art and the record keeping and things that they need to consistently, if they have a winner, to be able to replicate it over and over and over again precisely. Precise enough that I won't notice it anyway. Sorry. I don't usually talk with my mouth full, but I live alone. I'm becoming feral. Somebody said that to me a couple of months ago. You're becoming feral. I've been alone too long. When you get older, like me, even older than me, and even younger than me, but when you get to be middle-aged and up, and you lived alone for a while, I hate to say it, it's kind of hard to meet people when you get older. It's not the same. I'm getting off track, but I'm drinking beer. 2 fists in it tonight. 2 fists in it. But these are weak beers. It's not the same as when you're younger. I will say by younger, I mean reproductive years. Because it is biological, physiological. And all those things weigh in on the psychological aspect of trying to find a partner. It's a lot easier for men and women because you're driven to find a partner. By the time you get to be my age, you're more like to say man or woman, not just me. But like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't know if I want to get involved. You know, with that. It's a nice person, but I'm not thinking of anybody at all when I say this. But you're just more hesitant to jump in the ring, you know, and yes, I don't know, it's not the same. It's part of, God designed it, didn't he? God designed it. He's the architect of our lives. So there's a reason for it. I don't know what it is. Get old and lonely and maybe feral. F-E-R-A-L, feral, like a feral animal. Feral cats. God, I was walking my dog the other day, not far from here, maybe a quarter mile. I live on the outskirts of town, small town. And I saw something in the field, looked like a large, like almost like a mountain lion, but I took a picture of it. Some people said that was a fox. Some people thought it was a bobcat, maybe. No, fisher. There's like a cat, an animal that lives around here. A fisher hunter. Pretty mean, like kind of a feline, kind of bobcat, cougar mix. Whatever it was, that thing looked big and it looked potentially mean. It was about as big as my dog. It was out in the field eating something, and I walked up to it and taking pictures, and it was just kind of staring at me. I wasn't afraid of it, but I wouldn't want to tangle with it either. It ran off. I took a picture of it, posted it on Facebook, and nobody could really. The verdict was it's a fox. And one of the people that said it was a fox would be one to know because he works for a place that, Tim Greening, a friend of mine up north, he works for a place that rescues wild animals. And like they find an injured deer or injured whatever. And they take care of it, nurse it back to health, and try to repatriate it to wildlife. I gave him one of my accordions, my red one that I played years ago. I wound up with like 6 or 7 accordions, and I had to get rid of some of them. And he really liked the accordion, so gift. And the man does play professionally, guitar and sing mostly, but maybe someday he'll work the accordion into it. All right, let me wrap this up. I can't really decide which one of these I like better. This one drinks easier. It's sweeter, less bitter. Almost half the price as this one. A little less alcohol, 4% alcohol. This one's 4.2. 4.2. They're both weak beers. This one has a little more after bitterness taste. They smell the same, but I'm kind of stuffed up. They look essentially the same. They're both Irish beers. If cost is a factor, this one wins. If taste is a factor for my taste, this one I like to drink a little better. They both drink very easy because they're low alcohol and they have the nitrogen. I mean, they design these beers for draft beers at bars and pubs so that these go down like a glass of water and you're drinking a lot of them, not getting particularly drunk, but they are delicious, good beers. And it's, you know, I'm happy with my little pint of Guinness Draught, and they're happy to sell it to me at the price they do. If you could get your hands on some Murphy's, get it. Seriously. I'm impressed with this. I'm impressed with this. When you think of stout, Guinness is almost synonymous with the word stout. Irish, Ireland stout. You think Guinness. But this is just as good. The Murphy's, honestly, it's just as good and it's cheaper. So, you figure, try this out. But my 2 cents is, considering the price, one last taste test. Good stuff. Also very good stuff. It's really hard to say which one I like to drink more. I said the Guinness. Maybe it's tough. I think this, for me, because I do like a little bit of bitterness, it's very close for me to say which one I like more. I would say taste-wise, for me, because I do like the bitterness a bit, the Guinness. But when you factor in things I've said, like the price and such, honestly, I'm impressed with the Murphy's quite a bit. And I'll definitely buy this again, God willing. I mean, I can recommend this beer. You already know about the Guinness World Champion, but this is a very worthy contender. And it's a beer that won't hurt your wallet, and I think they're both quite fattening, so it might hurt your waistline, but if that's an issue. Almost half the price of this. For me, that alone, because it's so close, the taste, I love them both. Well, frankly, reminds me like some women with their, like I said, have weakness for chocolates. I thought you know what I'm talking about. Well, some guys have weakness for Irish beer and Irish beer mugs, you know, and stuff. And I like them both quite a bit. But I am very grateful that this one still sells cheap, whereas this one has not. They've gone up, 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 up. All right, I think that's about all I can prattle on about this. Hopefully I'll do some reviews of some stuff in Brittany, France. That's where I'm headed today, really. So I got to get to bed, fly out at 3:30, so I got some time. Oh, but au revoir. It's going to be a challenge. I don't speak French really to save myself, so this should be interesting. That's potentially could be some trying times for me there, but I'm not getting any younger. So it's something I've always wanted to do, is to go there. Well, not always, but recent years. And my old friend, good old late friend Jen, she wanted to go. We both thought France looked pretty cool. Just cruising the internet, you know, not knowing anything about anything. But we never had the money then. I never, you know, I could work my whole life. I'm going to do a book reading called Citizen, Servant, Slave, A Working Man's Journey in New York State. Honestly, this state, New York State, has held me down in many ways. And that's why I take the price of a beer into consideration. You know, why did Guinness get greedy? Murphy's has my vote on this beer, on this review, just for that reason alone. But they're both really good. But no, we never had the money to travel. Well, I'm going to France and she's in heaven. I've digressed. All right, there you have it. My comparison to these two champion stouts.